and I realized, oh, that's not a rock wall. That's the side of a lingcod. So I put my gun in very slowly into this hole, lined up the shot, and just took it. Alright, you guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been quite some time since I posted, but the thing is I don't get to go out too much, and when I do go out, it doesn't end up going too well. One dive I lost my weight belt and wasn't able to get down. On the same dive I put rocks on, but I wasn't able to stay down, and I was just so shaky I was spooking everything. Then on another dive, I also found out that the gun I was using was way too big, and that caused me to miss so many shots because I just spooked the fish, since the front of the spear shaft had to go into the holes I was shooting in. And another time, I shot two nice sized rockfish, and they both got away because the flopper on the spear shaft didn't deploy. But I'm all set, ready to go down to Monterey. Dive conditions look good today, so I'm just gonna get going. And for those of you guys wondering what my setup is, I've just got this Banks board right here, and this thing is super nice. I'm gonna be doing a review on it some other time after I've used it a bit more. I've liked it so far. There are some pros, some cons that I've come up with, but I want a really detailed review for you guys. And then just have the cooler. I was supposed to fill this up with warm water for after my dive, but I didn't end up doing it. And this Banks board pretty much just goes on my back with these backpack straps, and I carry everything. I've got a new gun that I'm using today. This one that I've been using is a 75 centimeter. I went down to a 55 centimeter just because a lot of the fish that I'm going for are in smaller rocks. So I needed something that could maneuver easily in smaller areas. And just this float line and stuff you guys have seen before. The water is the calmest it's ever been in maybe like, I don't know, 5 months. I have never seen it this calm, at least for a while. There's a lot of divers out here in the water. I see two just over there, and like, I don't know, there's probably around 6 over there, and usually when I go diving, there's no one else diving there. So that's a lot of people diving today. I'm just gonna get suited up, and I'm just trying to slow myself down because all of my last dives, I've just gone in too excited to get in, and then I forget something in my car, or I forget to put something on. My actual last dive with Esdras was on the kayak. I was diving, I lost my weight belt, and then after that you can't dive because the neoprene just floats, so I couldn't get down. I actually saw a couple rockfish down on the bottom just pretty much laughing at me because I couldn't get down there. I then got out of the water and came here to this spot, and I tried to use rocks as a weight belt since I didn't want to pay $127 at a local dive shop for the belt. I put on like 20 pounds of rocks, and that did not go well. The bags were just dragging the whole time, and it was just kind of too dangerous for my liking, so I got out. No fish that day, but I've got a new weight belt. I actually found a guy who sells these at $2.50 per pound, which was way better than the dive shop's $5.50 per pound. I also have this setup right here. I was looking into getting a dive board just because I want to be able to take out more GoPro batteries. I want to be able to take out water, and I don't want to just be dragging everything through the water on the float that I had. So that's it. Those are the upgrades, but let's just get into it. So I started out my dive like I normally do. I went straight out, then started checking all the little holes I could see with my flashlight. And generally during the day, the fish that I'm targeting, the rockfish, the lingcod, the cabezon, they'll be hiding out in these small little holes or sometimes big holes. And that's why you need to dive with a flashlight if you're going to be targeting these species. One of the fish that I see a lot of in Monterey is this little orange one, and I don't really know what type of fish it is, but these guys will follow you around forever after you shoot a fish. They'll just try to pick up any scraps they can, and right here you can see that this one's eating a jellyfish, which I didn't know they do that. So I checked a couple more rocks but didn't find anything. But while I was in the kelp, I saw this lingcod, but based on the head size, it just looked way too small, so I left it alone. Then I went to check out some more holes in the rock, and I saw these two copper rockfish in the hole, but usually if a rockfish is less than 12 inches, I won't shoot them, so I just let them go. And then I proceeded to shock myself with the shark shield that I've been swimming around with, and that's basically just a type of shark deterrent that has been independently proven to work. And so I just give it a shot. Then I found another rockfish, but this one was too small as well. A bit later, I remembered that last dive, I saw a huge rockfish swim into a tunnel that was basically a huge system of holes underneath this one rock. I wasn't able to get that rockfish, but when I checked out those holes, I saw that there were tons and tons of carper rockfish just hiding out in that hole. So I decided I was going to check out that hole again since I knew where it was. I had it marked on my Dive Watch GPS. And hopefully this time I'd be able to get some rockfish since I had a smaller gun and didn't have to deal with that huge gun that I was dealing with last time. So I checked out the spot, but I didn't see much except for this little tiny copper rockfish in it. Then I decided I was gonna go way out to like the sandy part of the beach where I'd never been before and see if I could find some halibut. I usually avoid the sandy part of the beach because the visibility isn't that great since all the sand is getting picked up by the swell, and usually I'm not targeting halibut, so I won't find any rockfish or fish that like structure in the sandy parts of the beach. Also, sandy areas tend to be a bit more sharky than areas with structure, so I never head out to beaches that are specifically all sand, even though that's where you'll find halibut. So I got bored pretty quickly of just staring at all that sand, so I went back to the structure and I found this crab, which I always used to get these rock crab in Half Moon Bay, but now that I catch a lot of Dungeness crab, I don't go for rock crab as much since they generally don't have as much meat and they're a lot harder to crack open. I also saw a lot of rockfish like this one, and this one, and this one. And these fish let me get really close to them because I'm really good at staying calm in the water and not being very aggressive towards the fish. I didn't shoot any of them because they were all too small, at least for my liking. I know a lot of people don't mind the smaller ones. I also ran into this fishing line, which is a good example of why you should always carry a knife when you're diving. There's also a ton of jellyfish in Monterey, so I'm always seeing these, and sometimes they get as big as your head. I got really scared when I got out of the water and I saw this. I thought there might be a juvenile great white just maybe like 20 feet from me, but it ended up just being a seal on its side soaking in the sun, and it gave me a heart attack, so that was a pretty scary experience. So I was only seeing a bunch of smaller little rockfish that I didn't want to go after, and I was about to get out, but I decided I was going to go for one last trip to that one hole I went to. And when I did, I was looking in the hole and I see a ton of rockfish like usual, but then I saw this rock wall behind it and I realized, oh, that's not a rock wall, that's the side of a lingcod. So I put my gun in very slowly into this hole, lined up the shot, and just took it. And you can see that the copper rockfish that I saw earlier was swimming out to kind of check out what was going on. And a lot of the fish will do that. You'll shoot one fish and all of a sudden the whole entire place is alive and all these fish are coming out. I basically shot the lingcod dead in the center. Not an awesome shot, but for where it was in the hole, all the way in the back, I think it was a pretty decent shot. Since the dive that I shot the lingcod was around a minute and maybe 10 seconds, I had to do a 2.5 minute breathe up, and the breathe up pretty much lets your body just get the amount of oxygen it needs before you go down and hold your breath again to do another dive. So because I had to do that breathe up, I was really worried that the fish was gonna escape, that somehow the flopper would go down on the shaft and it would get away, just like what happened to so many rockfish before this lingcod. And I went down, tried to get it out, but it was just fighting and going deeper in the hole, and I kept trying to pull the shaft, but the lingcod just did not want to come out. So I had to go do another 2.5 minute breathe up. And while I was doing this breathe up, I saw the lingcod actually come out through a different part of the hole. And the shot that I had on it with the 55cm gun just looked like it was barely holding on. So I went up, grabbed my 75cm gun to put a second shot in it, loaded it up, went back down, and took that second shot, which I thought was a headshot, but as you can see here, it didn't even go in the fish. So the shot just came right out. After another breathe up, I saw that the spear shaft was holding the lingcod super well and it was not going to get away. So I just decided to gill it and then put it on my stringer. This ended up being a 26.5-inch lingcod, which is my personal best. I think I've only ever caught 3 lingcod in my entire life, so there's not a huge range of fish to compare it with. Then I went back down to get my guns, and luckily the 75cm gun that I had just dropped in all the chaos was still there, so I didn't lose that. But unfortunately, the 55cm gun, I got that shaft jammed in the hole system that the lingcod was in, and I wasn't able to get it back, so I lost that spear shaft. Alright, so I just finished off this dive and pretty tired. I think that was like a 5-hour dive. Didn't see much at first. There's a ton of coppers, a ton of monkey face eels, but I shot an eel last time and it was pretty gross, so I didn't want to get another one. Those things get really long though. The one I shot was probably like 24 inches, maybe 28 inches. I saw a lingcod going right into the dive, maybe the first 5 minutes, but it was way too small. And as I was coming out, maybe like last 30 minutes of the dive, I caught this massive lingcod. That's probably my personal best lingcod. And I actually shot it with my 55cm gun, and I only was able to shoot it because I had a gun that small. And so I'm glad that I didn't just stick with the 75cm that I had been coming out with. But I shot the fish and it went into this hole and just scrambled all over the place. And I ended up getting my spear shaft just jammed. So I wasn't able to get that. I had to cut it off, which is a bummer because those things cost like $40. But I tried for so long to get it out and it just wasn't happening. But we're gonna have some good lingcod tacos. All right, now I gotta get going, gotta get this thing in the cooler. So overall, a pretty successful dive. The viz today, I thought it was gonna be great because the wind was low, the swell was low, and the energy was low. So I thought the viz was gonna be excellent, but it ended up being just as bad as the last time I came. I hope you guys enjoyed this dive video. I don't know how the video is gonna come out, but hopefully it turns out good, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.